Hi, I'm Jerry Ford. Welcome to my studio and welcome to my Thursday night mini class. Tonight we're going to talk about the good old walking foot. They came with most of our machines. You can always buy them and you think, what on earth is this contraption for? And then you try it out and it's noisy and you're like, okay, first of all, how do I even put it on the machine, right? Like, this looks like something out of my kids' Transformer toys. Like, what does that do? Okay, these are great little feet, and once you learn how to use them, you'll find they are so indispensable. What do you use them for? You use them any time you've got fabric that's just not going to behave itself. It's going to want to slip, slide, pucker, twist, do all kinds of weird stuff. So that's what this is good for. So here's some examples. It can be used for quilting, a quilt sandwich together, and we'll talk about that some more. Here's one where a fabric that wants to pucker. Okay, it's going to help make it stitch a little nicer. It's great for matching up. Well, it wasn't so great for matching up, but it was great for getting this to behave itself. This is that bumpy Minkie fabric, which is, I think, the bane of every grandmother's world who tries to make a baby quilt using this stuff. It's quite a challenge, but a walking foot makes it easier. Where it really shines is in matching up stripes and plaids. It's really good, makes it perfect without pinning every inch or half inch to get it right, and then you get the distortions from those pins. Okay, it's great for putting together fleece, corduroy, velveteen, suede, anything that's got a nap that it's wanting to twist and turn and not line up correctly and stretch. It's good for knits because it helps to even out some of the stretching that goes on with knits, because this Minkie is a knit. They're great little tools in your sewing toolbox. Okay, let's explore this wonderful little foot. Here's the 4 different types of walking feet that are available for Baby Lock and Brother machines. This one here goes to the straight stitch machine. It's predominantly metal parts. I like that. It only has a very narrow sole plate, and it has the typical bar that goes up and down that allows the feet on the top to advance along with the bottom ones. This one is for the straight stitch machine, and it's unique to that machine, and we'll talk about the different parts when we come to them. But they all basically work the same. So as this fork, which is usually put over top of the needle bar of your machine as it goes up and down, what happens is when this is sewing along, it has feed dogs at the top and your machine has the feed dogs on the bottom. So as the fabric pushes it back, when the needle goes down, then this comes forward and it actually sort of pushes the fabric along from the top, and your machine's feed dogs push it from the bottom. These are sometimes called an even feed foot. And yes, they do wear out, and yes, they do require maintenance. So we'll talk a little bit about the maintenance on these later. This one here is the generic. This one is a low shank, so it can be used on my little Intrigue and all of my machines that take a low shank foot. This one just comes with the one sole plate that you can't change. The thing is that the bottom has got some covers. It's mostly made of metal. However, the metal is covered, so this one really doesn't need to be maintained other than to keep the lint out of it. And it works the same. Then we have the deluxe walking foot here, which is made of all metal parts. It's sturdier. The feed dogs are a little more grippy. And this one, you can exchange out the sole plates. It's not quite so easy to do, but they do make, I think somewhere around here I have an open toe. I rarely use it anymore. This one is for a low shank machine, and these two can be used on any of the low shank machines. They can be used on a high shank machine as long as you're using the adapter. This one is the the digital dual feed, which instead of it having teeth, it's got a belt at the top. And this one, it plugs into the back of the machine because these, the top only goes at a certain distance. That's it. It's not a whole lot. This one can go in reverse, and it can also adjust to your stitch length a little better. These have interchangeable feet that are easy to swap out. And they just clip right in. Okay, let's talk about cleaning your walking feet. So you want to every once in a while check the bottom because you want to make sure that the sole plates are not scratched or gouged and that they're all fine. These are all fine here. You want to get something to clean them out with. So this one here is the all metal one, and I'm mostly going to worry about this part right here because you're going to look at it and see what parts move, because those may need oiling. You'll know that you're going to have to clean it out, and I usually clean it out maybe once a quarter, or however if I use it a lot, then I'll clean it more often. But you want to clean out, and I use these little picks that I get from Amazon. You can get like 100 of them for almost next to nothing. They're for cleaning. So you would go inside and you want to clean out any lint that you can catch. There's not a whole lot. I did clean it recently. If it turns really dark, that means you haven't oiled it in a long time. And I have an oiling pen right here. It's a pinpoint oiler. I got this on Amazon. And I want to put a drop of oil literally right there. That's all. Just one drop, not much. Then I use this. There's a little wheel that will turn, so you want to touch. I also look to see if you have any other parts that join together. Let's see, are there any more? Yeah, there's one in here. I'm just going to, wherever you see metal touching metal, just only one drop does the whole thing. And then you probably want to clean the outside, and usually I'll just take a baby wipe or an alcohol on a cotton piece of cotton and clean the outside. Just make sure there's no lint, and it will help. These things are noisy, and this will help make them run a little bit easier. Okay, we'll talk about the guide to this in just a moment. This one, again, there's not a whole lot you can really get to. You might want to put a little bit of oil on the swab and just reach back there. Let's see. I'm just going to put a little bit of oil. See, it gets really dirty. These are washable. I wash these little things, and they last forever. I think I've had these 2 little ones for a long time. So I'm seeing where it's moving, and I'm looking at where it's moving, and I can see way inside there's just a little piece of something. So I'm just going to reach in there, make sure that it's going to move. And I can see metal touching metal, so I'll just wipe a little bit there. Anywhere else? Nowhere else can I really get to. Just reach in and just oil it. And that helps make it a little quieter. This one is, again, there's not much to do. I can reach again the same drop. Well, that one, this one I can't even get to. Oh yeah, I can. I can push that little thing back there and just give it, let me put a little more oil on this little, it's like a super tiny Q-tip with like a fuzzy bit on here. Okay, so I'm going to look anywhere it moves, and I don't see any place other than where the arm goes up and down, so I'm just going to get where that arm is just a little bit, clean out, and I'm just using that oil just to grab any dirt or stuff that you can see on there. If the feed dogs on the top are not metal, don't hit them with the oil, then they won't be working as well anymore. Okay, this one doesn't have any moving parts that you can see. They're all inside. Everything is sealed. It does not need to be oiled. Okay, I'm going to put those away. Now let's show how we attach these. Okay, here I am at my straight stitch machine, and this would be the same for changing it on like any of the Juki 98s and virtually any of the straight stitch machines, because you can see, if you ever looked at them, they all look the same, don't they? On no matter whether it's made by Juki, Janome, Handy Quilter, all of these straight stitcher ones, semi-industrial ones, all look pretty much the same. Okay, so now in order to put the walking foot on, I've got to remove the ankle. We'll just unscrew it. You don't need to remove the needle. Again, you've got the fork that's going to go over top of the needle bar. For this particular knot model, I have to take the screw completely off because there's no slot here. So it goes on. Let's see if I can. Okay, so I raise up the fork like this. I sort of place this into the side, sort of where it's going to go, and I'm going to swing it to the right, back towards the right, until this fork right there, see that fork is right on the needle bar. And then I'm going to put the screw back. Hand tighten it, and then tighten it good with the screwdriver. Now it's ready to use. So every time the needle is down, the feed dogs on the top come up. And so what it does is it pulls that fabric from the top and the bottom at the same time. These are great for quilting, but this is the guide, the seam guide that comes with this machine. It cannot be used with this foot, and the reason is this has a slot and this is closed, and where this falls is hitting, the needle bar is hitting this bar, and therefore it can't be used. However, you can use this guide with all the other feet that come with your machine. I'm going to put the ankle back. Then you can put this on the fork. See how this will fit over the screw. This will fit over top. And then you put your ankle on. And then see how that fits right in there in the notch. You tighten it all up. Right here, and you use this screw to go as far out or in as you need it, wherever you want to put your fabric. This can be used for regular sewing too. And then this moves in or out, depending on how, you know, I'd say the farther out the better, because I just get better that way. You would set this, say if you wanted that perfect 1/4 inch, then you could set this at a 1/4 inch, tighten it all down, and now when you sew your 1/4 inch, you've got a guide that extends out to the front. But you could set this as far as you like. It can go all the way over here. Okay, so that's pretty much how you would use the guide. Now this one for the straight stitch cannot be used on the machines that have a zigzag because it only has a very narrow space for the needle. Okay, now this one is the traditional one, and it's just like the generic ones that come with most machines. It has the same needle bar at the top. It goes on the same way. This one has got plastic feed dogs. These have plastic feed dog teeth, and yes, they do wear out over time. You may have to replace them if you feel that it isn't gripping your fabric anymore. You can do one of two things. You can increase the pressure on your foot. That's a presser foot pressure, and that you'd have to check your manual to see how you would do that on your machine, or if you can do that on your machine. Now this one also goes in. It has a slot, so it's a little easier to put in. This one does not have interchangeable feet, but somewhere in this house I have one where I have taken a Dremel tool and I took out this part, and just now I have an open toe one somewhere around. I don't use it very often, but this one has a guide, but the guides are not that useful. It fits in this hole and it only goes to one side. So, you know, you would use it, and there's your guide. You'd slide it along. I found this tends to move. So my workaround for this one to get it, once you get it where you like it, then you take a piece of painter's tape and just wrap it around on either side, and now this can't go from side to side. And I have used this one several times. It will go on the other side as well, and it's just that your guide is now kind of like upside down. It's helpful, but not really. Okay, now this is the deluxe one, and this one I like because you can change out the sole plate, but it isn't easy to do. You have to unscrew something and then jiggle it, and I just said, oh, forget it. So I rarely use this one. This one is sturdier. This one instead has rubber feed dogs at the top, so it helps to grip it a little bit better. It doesn't wear out because it's all metal. This one has the most of all of these. This has the most accurate guide system because you have left and right guides, and how you put these together is that you have a whole set of holes up here. So you would pre-place this little bracket over top of the holes, and if you want it to cover this side, you put it through, you get it to where you want it to go, and then you tighten this screw down until it's where you want it, and then it'll stay right where you want it. I like this one. This is like the one I had on my old Bernina, and I did like this because you can swap it out, either have it come from the right or the left. So this one is more versatile, and this one goes out a lot further, where this one only goes out about 2 3/4 inches away from the needle, where this one can go really as far away as right here. Oh, that is 3.5 inches away from the needle. Put it. Now, all of these three can be used with zigzag stitches. This one's only good for a straight stitch. These are good, can be used with zigzag stitches. Now, that being said, it can't be used with all decorative stitches because these things work best forward advancing. So if you're a 3-step zigzag, like that goes straight, keeps advancing forward, it's fine. It's the ones that go back, forth, side, back, 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 and just sort of like go in a circle in all directions. They don't work very well with these two at all. These don't really work in reverse, so you can get away with doing 2 or 3 stitches to back tack your seams and whatever you're doing. You can back tack them, but you can't go backwards because the feed dogs are always advancing forward. So if your feed dogs in the bottom are going this way and the feed dogs in the top are going this way, you get more shifting. So you don't want to go put this into reverse because you're going to cause puckering and buckling and pleating and all that good stuff. Now this one here is the digital dual feed. It does not have a seam guide. However, these machines have laser lights that come down and show you where the end of your fabric is, or where you want to do a cross hatching or whatever, echo quilting, whatever. This one, instead of it having feed dogs, it has this belt, and this rubber belt goes along, and this is programmable. These top feed dogs sort of go at a constant distance. if you're doing a really long stitch. That means the one on the bottom is going a distance, and these are going just a little bit, and you know that's going to throw it out of sync. But this one, it's going to know, because you plug it in. Say you're doing a 5mm long stitch. These are usually set at 2mm, right? The top feed dogs, well, the top one's going to move also. If this does decorative stitches, now I can't say all of them. The side to side shifting ones don't work well, but the ones that are 7mm or smaller work fine. These, I like the interchangeable feet. There's several of them. You can get a stitch in the ditch, a 1/4 inch. I have the stitch in the ditch. I really like this stitch in the ditch foot because I can really fly using this foot. There's a 1/4 inch, there's an open toe, there's a cording foot. So there's different feet you can get for these. And like I said, these are easy to exchange. The big disadvantage to this is this thing's huge. And there is a slightly smaller one, but you know, it wasn't worth the cost to trade it in. I don't use it that often. They both work the same. The other one is just a little smaller, so it doesn't seem so huge when you're working with it. This, I can disengage the belt so the belt doesn't engage at all, and you can use it for regular sewing. This is actually a very, very, very good walking foot. The only disadvantage is its size. It's heavy and it's big, so, but it's a great foot. A lot of times we like to quilt with our walking foot. It's the easiest way to stabilize your quilt because you've got a regulated stitch. Here's some ideas for quilting with your walking foot. So like this is just the same, just a simple grid. This is one you could use the guide fairly easily to set your guide wherever you want it and just stitch a grid. See, all the stitches are nice and regulated. Here's the same stitch, same grid, only it's on the diagonal. And it looks very different. And simply, it's just turned 45 degrees. So yes, that's a nice way to get some really intricate quilting done. Okay, this is the same, exactly the same as this one, except for I used the serpentine stitch. And if you look closely, here is the serpentine. And I did draw in the grid because that way I could just line up the center of the foot with the center of the line. So this gives you another interesting background fill. Okay. This was also done with the walking foot. And I drew all of these lines in and just followed the lines. But that really makes a dynamic quilt. Same thing as the radiating, but instead I used a curved line to go. So I had my line here, so I sort of started it and just did the same curve throughout the whole thing. That really gives it a whole different effect. Again, this is all done with the walking foot. And of course, there's echo quilting. And echo quilting I did with the walking foot for a very long time because this is the width of this straight stitch foot for this machine. So this was just using the foot as a guide, the edge of the foot of the guide, and just went round and round and round, and that gives you a nice quilt pattern. And again, that's just with using your walking foot. All right, I'm going to do quilting using just the 1/4 inch foot, and you will see the problem that we have, and you will see that I have this even all the way around, and I'm just going to stitch in a square and let's see what happens. And I'm going to make my stitch length maybe 2.5. I'm going to bring up my bobbin thread, and I'm going to do this first with the regular foot and then with the walking foot. For the walking foot, when you're doing a locking stitch, you can do one of 3 things. You can lower your feed dogs and do 3 stitches in one spot in order to lock the stitches on the bottom. You can just pull them up and just continue to stitch and then use a needle and thread in order to knot and bury your threads inside the the batting. You don't want to back tack. The other thing you can do is set your stitch length to 0 so that you get the first few stitches, and that's probably what I'm going to do. I've set it back to 1, so it really didn't move much. Then I'm going to set that to 2.5, and I'm just going to stitch and see if we get any. I do see some distortion. See this starting up, and it's overlapped a little bit. I'm just using, now this is small. Put this on a big quilt, and there we go. See, I got distortion there. The top pushed it further. And what happens is that the bottom, the feed dogs are pulling it along, but the top is just sort of pushing it. So you got one going this way and one going this way. And you'll see it really happen when you go back and forth. Now I'm using cotton batting. This would be even worse if it were polyester. See, it's pulling a little bit. Not much because this is a very small piece. But yeah, look at the back. See how I got all this puckering and shifting on the back? So yeah, that's not so wonderful. Okay, that's using a 3 stitch length. And the edges, see the top is overhanging the bottom. Now this is small. Multiply this by a large quilt and you got even more distortion. Okay, let's go ahead and do this with the walking foot. Okay, I've attached the walking foot. Okay, and this time we'll try the other piece of the little tiny quilt sandwich. Notice all 4 edges are even all the way around. So again, I'm going to do the same thing, same stitch length. Set that stitch length to 0 because that's just the easiest way. Have it do 3 stitches, that locks it. Put stitch length to 3 and let's see. Not getting as much, oh, I got no overhang there. And it looks okay there. With a walking foot, you don't want to sew like your hair's on fire. I'll show you what happens if you try. At least on this machine, it doesn't like it. And see, I can go back a little bit. Beyond that, I wouldn't push it. Okay, now here's what happens if you try to go too fast. Yeah, it starts to, sometimes it runs away with you and does all kinds of nasty stuff. Now, I got no puckering at all so far, but if you happen, say if you're doing with a thicker batting, and you'll have more problems with a thicker batting, and it's going to want to pull forward. You see how that's rippling forward if you have too much pressure? See how that's going to ripple forward? And that's what happens with a regular foot. It does that. Walking foot, it's going to keep it back. You can loosen your pressure. So on this machine, here's my pressure indicator. It's on neutral. And I can take the knob here and lighten the pressure a little bit. That will help. But if it doesn't, say you're doing a thick batting, how you control this, because this is at a set rate. So you would simply take your fingers and go slowly and push from about 1 inch away towards the foot, and you won't get any of that distortion. Although we're really not getting any here at all. And one more. And I'll do a moderate speed. I'm not going to knot off. I'm just going to let it go. And there's virtually no distortions. The other one we had more rippling effect. See, you've got more rippling on the sides. This one, I really don't have very much rippling at all. Okay, so that's quilting. This way I like to use on really slippery fabric or thin fabric that tends to pucker. So I'm just going to do a 1/4 inch stitch, and this is showing me that they're both even. My stitch length is 2. And I'm just going to stitch. Let's see what we get. It was a little hard to control. It tended to want to go all over the place. And actually, I got just a tiny bit of puckering. But if I had really flimsy fabric, it would be even worse. Okay, so let's do this one with the walking foot. Okay, take these off. Let's see if we get a less puckering. Back tack. Slightly less. I don't really see any noticeable difference here. Maybe the thinner the fabric is, the more puckering you would get, but both of these look fine. Okay, and now the stripes. Now this is great also for matching up plaids. Now this isn't a very big piece, but I've got my plaids are perfectly aligned. And let's see if we can keep that alignment. Again, I put this at a 2-stitch length. This will be even more exaggerated with a wool. Let's see what we get. Okay, here's where I started. See right there, it started out perfect. It's starting to go off a little bit, and a little more, a little more. And then by the time I got to the bottom of it, I was really kind of off, really off. So let's see what happens, because this is actually the best way to match up plaids and stripes and stuff like that, is with the walking foot, because then it's going to pull both sides at the same rate. And I'm using this 2-stitch length. See if we got better matchup. Oh, yeah, perfection all along. Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, yeah, this is where the walking foot really shines, is matching up stripes or plaids. I mean, yes, there's not much distortion, but I see it's there. See, oh, here it goes this way. As it went further on in the seam, it kept getting worse and worse and worse. Yep, yep, yep. Okay, stripes is a big yes. Now for the annoying Minkie fabric. Really, this one's probably not going to work. This is that bumpy Minkie fabric, which is a freaking nightmare. This is going to be a pain. This is going to be a pain even with the walking foot. Okay, so I'm going to just try to do a 3/8 inch seam, because I think it's pushing it to a 1/4 inch seam. Let's see what happens. Oh, it's growing. I can feel it growing already. Oh yeah, we got a lot of growing here. Look at that. Almost a whole 1/4 inch of growing. And it actually pulled in. It did not, it fought everything. It pulled to the side. Look at that. One side's bigger, it pulled it in, and it distorted everywhere. It's all ripply. It overshot the top. Okay, let's see if we can get any better with this one. Still, the matching it, wanting to shift on you, is still an issue. Okay, it doesn't even want to pin together. Alrighty. Okay. Alrighty, and I'm just going to try to match them up right there. Let's see if we get it better. No. No. This one did just as bad, if not worse. Yeah, see the way. Yeah, that didn't work at all. It's a straighter seam. it didn't shift so bad this way. It still shifted overhang quite a bit. So my suggestion for Minkie fabric is to glue the daggone seams together and heat set it down before you hit the sewing machine. This is regular Minkie without having any bumpy stuff on it, but this would be good for also for sewing fleece, because fleece is a knit and it tends to stretch and do all kinds of nasty stuff. So let's try to sew this with the I'm gonna do a 1/4 inch seam because it's straight. Let's see what happens. And I got some overhang. Okay, and it tended to pull in. And yes, the bottom is no longer even. It isn't bad. I didn't get a lot of puckering, but it's not even either. And yeah, this is only like a 6-inch seam. It's not very long. You end up with a big piece of fabric, you're going to get even more distortion. Okay, so let's go to the walking foot and let's see what happens if it looks any better with the walking. Okay, they're even at the end. They're even on the sides. So let's see what we get. Again, don't go too fast. Okay, that worked wonderfully. This is still Minkie fabric. However, I got very little overhang, overshooting the top. It gave me a nice straight seam. Actually, it's more elastic than I expected it to be, but it gave me a nice seam, and it didn't shift. So, big winners for the walking foot, where I recommend using it all the time, is either on fleece or Minkie fabric. I like it for perfect stripes. I mean, perfect matching stripes or plaids. And I liked it best for the quilting, and did a great job for straight line quilting. Okay. If you have any questions, send me an email at waltzquilt@yahoo.com and I'll be happy to answer them as best I can. Until next time, thank you for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share and comment. Till next time, bye.